Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining me in today's video, because here is a new report from the US Census Bureau. They announced that new home construction sales decreased more than what was expected for the month of October here. Also have some news to share regarding inventory levels and of course home prices as well. This is posted today, which is November 27th, when I'm making this video here, for new home construction sales for the month of October here. And by the way, today's video is based on new single family houses only. So excluding townhomes and condos, and of course the resale market as well. And a friendly reminder here, a sale is defined as a deposit taken or a sales agreement signed between a buyer and a home builder. So therefore, this is really acting more like a pending home sale, a leading indication of closed home sales in the future here. And a sale can occur prior to a permit being issued. In other words, these sales can be from a house that has not even started construction, or a home under construction, or also a completed house as well. Okay, let's first talk about home sales on a national level, and then we'll talk about inventory levels as well. These numbers, by the way, are in thousands of units, and also the sold numbers are seasonally adjusted and also annualized as well. So these are annualized rates for home sales. So for the month of October, there's 679,000 new single-family home sales. Again, a contract being signed between a buyer and seller. That, by the way, was below the forecast of 721,000. It came in below the forecast there. Also, sales decreased by 5.6% compared to September. That was also below the forecast as well, because the forecast was actually a decrease of 4.5%. This is also quite the turnaround, because if you guys recall from 1 month ago, this was September, there was 719,000 sales compared to 662,000 in August. That was an increase of 9% month to month. Whereas this month, we're seeing a decrease of 5.6%. Also, when looking at 1 year ago, we're up by 17.7% right now. Now, something to keep in mind here, because of course I have a lot to share here, is that this is based on sales contracts being signed between home builders and buyers for the month of October. And what happened in October? Rates surged, right? In October, on average, according to Freddie Mac, the average 30-year fixed rate increased to 7.62%. That was the highest rates we've seen since November of 2000. In other words, a 23-year high in rates, which obviously impacted sales this October. Now, something I want to share with you guys is that even though sales decreased by 5.6% compared to the previous month, the sales pace right now at 679,000 is roughly on par with pre-pandemic levels. This is night and day difference compared to the existing housing market for resale houses, excluding brand new home construction, because according to the National Association of Realtors last week, they reported for the month of October that closed home sales decreased to a 13-year low, whereas new home construction is relatively on par with pre-pandemic levels. Now here's a look at our good Uncle Fred's website here regarding new single-family home sales here. The current sales pace right now, again, 679,000. Of course, far less than the peak we had back in August of 2020, when at that time, the current sales pace, or that sales pace, was over 1 million. 1,029,000 to be exact. Now it's down greatly compared to there. But again, the current levels right now is roughly on par with what we saw looking at pre-pandemic levels, around 700,000. Something else I want to mention as well is this right here. Sales of new home construction are being propped up by a limited amount of houses for sale in the resale market of existing houses and builder incentives that they're offering to home buyers, as well as price reductions. So for example, according to the National Association of Homebuilders, or the NAHB, in October, 32% of builders reported cutting home prices, the highest rate since December last year. Meanwhile, 62% of builders provided sales incentives of all forms, such as rate buydowns, closing cost credits, etc. And that was up from the 59% they saw from the previous month and tied with the previous high for the cycle that was set back in December of 2022. The Census Bureau also looked at how each of the 4 major regions fared as well. Some very big changes here. Look at the West, falling by 23.3% compared to September versus a 2.1% gain they saw in the South. All areas increased compared to 1 year ago. The biggest increase was actually in the South, up by 19%. And also that was followed very closely in the West, up by 18.9%. So that's home sales. Let's have a look at inventory levels, which, by the way, these numbers for inventory, again, for new single family houses, is seasonally adjusted. So for the month of October, there was 439,000 houses for sale. That's an increase of 1.4% compared to September, but a decrease of 5.8% compared to 12 months ago. By the way, at 439,000, this is the highest levels since January this year. It still is down from the peak that was set back in October of 2022, but about 38% higher compared to October of 2019. On top of that, this is the highest pre-COVID levels since May of 2008. So here's a look at our good Uncle Fred here. So right now we have 439,000 new single family houses that are actually for sale. This is down from the peak in October last year at 466,000. But at 439,000, much higher compared to pre-pandemic levels. Inventory levels are also not as high compared to what we saw right before the Great Recession. The peak then was set back in July of 2006 when there was 572,000. But at 439,000 right now, this is the highest level since May of 2008 when looking at pre-COVID levels. Something else I found out as well that I found to be really interesting is that according to the National Association of Home Builders, of total inventory, this is new houses for sale as well as existing houses for sale, newly built houses made up 30% of all single family houses for sale for the month of October, compared to the historical average of a 12% share. So in other words, existing house inventory is historically low compared to a surplus of new home construction. Here's exactly what I mean by this, because for new houses for sale, compared to October 2019, there was 319,000 houses for sale. So therefore, we have 38% more right now compared to pre-pandemic levels. In contrast, for the resale market, according to Realtor.com, for the month of October, there was 737,000 homes for sale. Compare that to October 2019, though, over 1.2 million. Therefore, we have approximately 39% fewer existing houses for sale compared to a 38% increase for brand new home construction. Let's also talk about the month supply right now, because the month supply is at 7.8 months. That's an increase of 8.3% compared to the previous month, but a decrease of about 20% compared to October of 2022. As a note right here, a more normal range for the month supply is in the range of 4 to 6 months. So at 7.8 months, we have a surplus in the number of houses for sale. Compare this to the peak though. That was back in January of 2009. The peak was at 12.2 months. Now it's at 7.8 months. Also, this is still much higher compared to the all-time record low that was set back in October of 2020, when at that time we were at 3.3 months. Okay, let's change gears slightly here and talk about the median sold price for new single-family houses. It came in at $409,300. This is down greatly compared to 1 year ago. 1 year ago, we were just under $497,000. By my dumb math, that's a decrease of 18% year over year. Also, we're down by about 5% year to date, because to start the year, we're at 432,000. Now it's at 409,000. Something to keep in mind though is that even though prices are down by 18% compared to 12 months ago, when looking at pre-pandemic levels, so for example, back in October 2019, prices has surged up by 27% since then. Something else I also want to mention as well is that the median sold price of new houses can vary quite a bit compared to existing houses due to limited number of new home sales. So for example, according to this report right here, there's 51,000 new single-family home sales not seasonally adjusted, compared to 296,000 existing single-family home sales, both non-seasonally adjusted. And the 296,000, by the way, is according to the National Association of Realtors. Therefore, home prices can vary quite a bit for the new home construction industry due to limited amount of houses for sale. Now, here's something else that is also causing the fluctuation in prices to vary quite a bit as well. Here's a percent of home sales for each of these months here by price segment here. So in the range of $300,000 to just under $400,000, 1 year ago, 20% of all home sales came from the price segment. This month though, or I should say this October, it was at 33%. So the share much higher this October in the more affordable range compared to last year's levels. In contrast, in the range of $500,000 to $749,000, the share was 35% 12 months ago. Now it's at 22%. Therefore, as a note right here, this could cause the median sold price to fall from a year ago as more sales occurred in the lower price segment, and we're seeing fewer home sales at the upper range of the market. Now, having said that, as I report to you guys, about a third of home builders that reported to the National Association of Home Builders did report a decrease in price cuts compared to 1 year ago. So we're seeing a decrease in prices due to the mix in home sales, but also due to a decrease in demand as home builders are enticing buyers to buy houses. And therefore, one of the ways they are doing that is offering these incentives and of course, decreasing prices as well. And lastly, here's one more table I want to share with you guys as well. Here is the number of houses that sold by stage of construction and also inventory levels by stage of construction as well. Let's first talk about the number of houses that sold. Again, overall, 679,000. Out of that, there was 113,000 that sold that were not yet started. These are dirt lots in which the home builder got a sales agreement signed or a deposit taken for basically a dirt lot in which they're going to build a house in the next 6 to 12 months. That was a fairly big increase compared to 1 year ago, because 1 year ago, there was only 85,000. Now there's 113,000. That, by the way, is seasonally adjusted and also annualized as well. When looking at completed houses for sale or that sold, there was 229,000 in October 2022. That increased to 279,000 this October. In regards to inventory levels, here's something that I found to be intriguing. For the number of houses that are for sale that are under construction, that actually decrease. So we're seeing inventory levels decrease for houses under construction, decreasing from 306,000 down to 257,000. Something worth mentioning as well, which in my opinion, this is probably the best indicator of the healthiness of new home construction industry here. This is the number of houses that are for sale that are completed. So let's just talk about this. So if we have a giant increase of houses that are completed in which they're ready to be moved in, if we saw a giant increase in that in which home builders are not really able to sell those houses, that'd be a recipe for disaster and of course a big red flag. It has been increasing from the all-time record lows. That was about 32,000 that was set back in, I believe it was in mid 2022, sometime last year at the very least. It has increased ever since then at 76,000 right now. So we're far higher compared to the lows we saw last year, but it hasn't increased very much over the past several months here, pegged at around 75,000 to 76,000. So we're not seeing a surge of completed houses that are for sale. And this to me is telling me that home builders right now are able, at least thus far, to sell those houses before they just sit empty. On top of that, when looking at the month supply of completed houses, it is still at very low levels. Right now, it's at 2.5 months. 1 year ago, it was at 1.5 months, still higher, but historically speaking, still at very low levels. And again, I'll definitely keep you posted because this has been increasing ever since 2022. So for example, last year it was at 58,000 completed houses that are for sale. Now it's at 76,000. So elevated levels compared to last year, but historically speaking, more or less at historical norms. I'll definitely keep you posted with latest developments, of course, right? Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you guys got any value out of this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that because this video takes me hours to make due to all the research involved. So I hope you guys got some value out of today's video. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one.